It's Sunday morning, and today I'm going to talk about a review of my favourite running race. This is my home race. This is the Fen Gallop in Willingham, Cambridgeshire, and I'm going to review it as I run. So I'm just about to cross the start line at Willingham Recreation Ground, and the reason I want to review this course, the first part of it revolves around around the recreation ground, so it's all grassy underfoot and a nice lap. Normally it's really well supported. It would be we'd be running this next Sunday if it was actually on, but obviously COVID is cancelled. So doing a review this year because I want to really give this race some support, and if for next year I can get a few of you guys to come and run it and meet up, that would be amazing. It's super windy today, so hopefully you can see okay. But it's so I'm running around the wreck at the moment. The reason this course is a favourite of mine is it's so much variation in the running style. It's a 10k run. It's multi-terrain, so you start on grass, really nice flat surface grass. You can probably see. I'll put the camera up so you can hopefully see around. You also probably see I'm in this pink running top tonight. That's the Fen Gallop annual t-shirt. It's different colour every year. It was blue last year, green the year, but I think green the year before. This year's pink, and I'll try and get you to see behind my back. It actually has an eye test on the back. If you can read this, you're running too close. So a bit of fun with the t-shirt. So the first part of this 10k is on beautiful green football field-like surface. So you do a lap of the recreation ground, which I'm doing at the moment, and you come out this, and then you move on to a road for about a kilometre. It's a 10k, and those of you that are just starting, 10k is a big challenge. And what I'd say is it is a challenging 10k. It's not an easy 10k by any stretch. It's not one to get a PB. There's lots and lots of challenges you have to overcome on this 10k. Believe it or not, I've run it every year. I've obviously found it easier the kind of third year onwards. I ran it pure and simply because I was used to it and I had a plan. If you just go out and run it as hard as you can, you'll pay the consequences because your legs have got to adapt to all the different types of terrain. Some of it's really sapping, some of it you think this is easy and it catches up with you later. So it's a real game, a real race you have to have a bit of strategy behind. So I've just come out of the wreck now. I'm on the farmland road that runs out for about a k. So if you're, just say good morning. Morning. So if you're going to run this race, my strategy normally is you normally go out relatively hard. The nice recreation ground to run the first lap, you can normally get ahead of a few people that you'll probably be quicker than if you're going for time. If not, it's just a thoroughly enjoyable run. So it's all standards, I understand. So around the wreck, I'd push it a little bit just to get ahead of people that you expect to be maybe quicker than, and try and perhaps find somebody you can tag onto to help you with your pacing. When you come out onto this road, you almost can give it a bit of welly down here because it's a nice, relatively flat road. It can be quite windy, as you can probably hear, but this goes on for quite a way. It's probably, I said a k, it's probably a bit further than that, maybe a couple of k up here. So you can start getting into a rhythm on here on the road. But that's the problem with this race. You don't get any rhythm. So as soon as you think, oh, this is great, I'm hammering it on the road, you'll turn into a different type of terrain. And it's how well your legs can adapt to the different terrain and how well you can run. The other thing if you're running a 10k, so there's a car coming past me, running 10ks and you want to get a good time, it's all about the breathing. And breathing is so important as running. And this is why these vlogs are quite good, because I'm obviously talking right the way through it. It's really teaching me the ability to run and talk and breathe a little bit sporadically, which means that I'm strengthening my cardiovascular system. So running with others and talking is always a good way of training, but when you're running a quick race, you need to be able to breathe. Morning. So another car going past me, it's quite busy down here today. And so when you're breathing, you want to get into a rhythm. Now I'll do an episode on rhythmic breathing for runners, but ultimately you're finding a step and breathing pattern. And if you can do that, it means that it becomes more habitual. You don't have to think about it as much. You don't feel you're gasping as much. So a good way for a 10k would be 2 steps, exhale, 2 steps, exhale. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That'd be quite a good breathing pattern for a 10k. For a 5k, you might want to do 1 step, 1 step, 1 step. You know, so it's that type of a breathing pattern depending on how hard you're working. But for a 10k, I think the 2 step exhale works quite nicely. What you'll find, you'll keep your heart rate a bit lower, which means your body won't be working as hard, and it'll be better for you. So I'm passing it. Morning! Whoa! Morning! How you doing? You don't get savaged by dogs on a normal run, I might add. Get a bit of a habit for this. So I'm still on this farmland road, and like I say, it's quite open, so you do get a headwind coming in. Tuck in behind someone, give yourself a little bit of a breather. It's quite a good strategy. Someone a bit bigger than you, ideally, but also faster, because it pulls you along. But like I said, here is where you're pushing it a little bit to get ahead of a time. So if you're going for a time, you have to appreciate on this track or this race course is that there'll be splits that you can do really quick, and there'll be splits that you just do a lot slower. Sometimes up to a minute slower on certain areas because it is just staffing. So you need to understand it, and I would always recommend you get the opportunity to run it before the actual race day so you can test a few things out. I think my PB for this is about 42 minutes. I'm running my 10k PB, I think it's 41 something, so about a minute slower. But when I first started running this, I was 5 minutes slower because I wasn't used to running on the multi-terrain as much. I've kind of taught myself to do that a bit more over the years. So, and this running blog's really helping me do more multi-terrain stuff because I'm so embarrassed to carrying this camera as selfie stick. I generally find the most rural, off the beaten track type routes now, whereas before I'd have historically been purely a road runner, just because of the fact I've got weak ankles. But I think the off-road's quite good, strengthens your joints as long as you're careful and watch your footing. I think that's really, really important. I think barefoot running's helped me. I feel more at one with the ground, which means that my body can react to the ground a little bit more than the kind of running trainers where you get less feel. So still got quite a way to go up here yet. If the camera can pan forward, you get the editor to pan forward so you can see it's a long straight road. Probably see a car miles up the end there, and I have to get to the end there and go around the corner before we come to the end. So it's probably still the best part of the K to go. So it's actually maybe a little bit further than the 2k that I thought might be kind of 3k. So you're probably a third of the way around the track when you get to the end of this road, and then the way it's broken down is kind of, there's not really two other segments. I mean, this first bit is probably the most consistent part of the track. The rest of it is so bitty in terms of that you get some muddy areas to run, some cobbly, some more road, some grass, some thicker grass, some woodland, some road, some fields, edge of a farmer's field. So and you get lots of undulation with the actual running underfoot. So you get some up, some down, some up and down at the same time. It is relatively flat, but if it makes sense, the flat bits can actually be up and down, which I'll talk to you about the famous part when we get to it, which if you're not used to running it, it just drains you because it's kind of just before you get to halfway around the track. And it will sap a lot of strong runners. That means they can't finish as strong as they'd like. So again, it's a beautiful run though. If you look around you, it's open fields, and you can see purple flowers either side of me. It's a lovely time of year to run this. The other thing I'd say, if you're a hay fever sufferer, definitely take meds. I'm a hay fever sufferer. I don't really like tablets. They sometimes make me drowsy. So I normally run with nasal spray or eye drops and both most of the time. To be honest with you, what I found as a runner, because I'm sweating and excreting so much when I'm normally running, it's rare that I get struck with hay fever when I run. But the last thing you want is when you're in a race, to get itchy eyes or runny nose of some kind. So I strongly recommend, if you're not taking the meds on your training, take the meds on the race day. Otherwise, it will just throw you, and it's highly disruptive for your breathing pattern, etc. So still a little way further to go. We're across open, I think, cornfield now to the left, which is really, really nice. It's really therapeutic running this as well. Perhaps not on the actual race day. On the race day, I'd be booting it a bit faster than this. A couple of dogs here to go past. Morning! So, yeah, so what I'd normally do, my strategy, if I was going for a quick time, is I'll be down here, kind of, I'm converting to K. I used to run in miles, minutes per mile, so in terms of, I know what mile pace I'd be running. K, I'm not entirely sure, but I'd try and be doing this first part, maybe 6 minutes, 30 mile pace, something like that, to give myself a bit of a headway. Because I probably want to come in at average pace of maybe 6 minutes 45, maybe 6 minutes 50, something along those lines is kind of the time I'd be wanting to come in as an average pace. And I will be slipping over the 7 minute mile pace on certain areas, so I'd be trying to get a bit of a head start here. So 6:30 would be kind of what I've been running at. I've paced this track as well when it's run. It's normally for 500 runners. It always sells out. So if you are interested, well, I'll try and put the links on this video. So for next year, you can sign up in advance. It's Willingham, Cambridge. It's a lovely part of the country. It's kind of the suburban area of Cambridge, slightly further out, but it's really, really nice and picturesque. Lots of farmlands. Call it a Fen Gallop because you're running across the fens, which is lovely if you haven't done that before. So I'm nearly at the end of this track now, where we turn off and face the first change of terrain, which you'll see when I kind of get there, just around this corner. So at this point, I'll be out of breath. What you then have to do is try and carry the pace on the terrain, on the off-road terrain. And what I mean by that is you've got to keep your breathing. If you lose your breathing or change your breathing pattern, because your muscles are working a little bit differently on this off-road terrain, this first bit is grassy kind of fields. It's normally cut quite short on race day. It's a little bit longer than it normally is today. You can probably see running around me. Now there are lots of knobbles of grass, and you probably know what I mean. Where grass is patchy, you get little clumps of grass. And when it grows, it normally creates these little knobbles. You've got to watch the turning of the ankle. Now, if I come over to the right side of the track, it's a little bit clearer. You're on the edge of the field almost. The problem with this is the camber can slant somewhat. So you can be running straight 1 minute, and you can be running at tilt the next. If you've got weak ankles, that will take it out of you a little bit. So you can run over the left-hand side, you're dealing with uneven terrain and grass. The right-hand side is a little bit flatter, but you don't get as much grass, but you do get some tilting of the camber, if that's the right terminology. And here you see it's again really bobbly. I'm kind of running all over the shop. So you've got to keep the rhythm. These parts you've got to get the rhythm. And so here you're probably going to slow a little bit, but you've got to find an efficient running style on the off-road. If you're not efficient, people that don't run off-road, they're more experienced with road, will run onto this, and what they generally do is continue putting the same speed and effort as they did on the road, but you're probably working 30-40% harder because you're navigating the terrain underfoot. Your muscles are stretching and pushing in slightly different ways. You can see it really knobbly here. So a little bit of an uphill part, and now I'm into a headwind, so it makes it even more challenging. So you've got to make sure you keep that breathing. Expect your pace to be slower. That's why it's important to get ahead. You don't want to be too much slower. 10 to 15 seconds per mile, maybe slower. But that will be enough to keep you breathing. Try and keep your efficiency right. You're not burning too much too soon. crazy as it sounds, like I say, I've done ultra marathons. I have hit the wall on this 10k run. And for those of you that are not that experienced with longer distances, the wall will be common at a distance 10k. If you do marathons, half marathons, ultra marathons, you wouldn't really be expecting to hit the wall very often on a 10k. And this one has hit me a few times, and it's horrible. And the other challenge with this track, I mean, the actual race isn't until next week, but it's always hot and normally always sunny. Sometimes it's crazily sunny, and when it's crazily sunny, you get, you know, a huge amount of sweating and excretion, and there's only two drink stations. One we would have just passed back there before we turned onto this camber, and the next one is kind of more towards the end, so you don't get a lot of drink stations. And the other challenge you have when you run is the ability to keep breathing and to take a sip or sips of drink. It's a real skill. I see so many people doing it and tipping the drink all over their face, and it might look intentional, but quite often it's not. Because quite generally, the last thing you want to do on a race is soak yourself unnecessarily, because it's going to promote you getting chafing, etc. So if anyone trying to avoid being wetter than you need to be, generally chafing is more of an issue on longer runs. I'll talk to you about that again on another episode. As you can see, it's almost single kind of pathway down here, so you can overtake, but your footwork is going to need to be tested, because the only runnable bit really is only fit for one person at a time. So the other thing you want to consider when you get down here is when you're doing the hard work on the road, is you want to try and get ahead of anybody who you think you're quicker than, so that when you do this bit, you don't have to try and worry about overtaking. That's more distraction, more draining on an already quite challenging terrain. You've got two little pathways here, so it's not so bad on this bit, but there's several bits that are just single, so you have to be mindful of that. So you probably hear my breathing, it's working harder. I'm doing this at the moment at about 8-minute mile pace, so 5-minute K. So I'm going quicker than I'd normally do a vlog run. I'm trying to get around it so you can try to see how my work ethic changes when I'm running it. There's more people walking up here. Just say hello as we go past. Morning. So coming to the turn, normally this area here as well is right out in the sunlight. The issues with that is if you run in the sun, you'll probably find it a lot harder. If you sweat more, you're working harder, your heart rate will be higher, trying to keep your body cool. So there's a little bit that we come up to in a minute where you get some rare shade on the course. Light will eat you, take some deep breaths down here, get some recovery in before you go out on the next part of the track, which is a super challenging bit. So as you can see, it's beautiful, and basically running between, foliage that's the same height as me each side. So it's really out in nature. For those of you that have children, when the Fen Gallop runs, there's a 4-mile run for younger kids. There's a 1-mile run for younger kids than that. And there's even I think it's under a 200-metre toddler sprint around the cricket square for the younger ones. So it's a real family affair. It's barbecue, beer tent, everything that's associated with a family day. Now when you come up here straight ahead, I turn right into the woodland, which is part of the 10k. The 4k is the same route up to here, then it goes straight across. So I'll carry on going straight. So I'm not going to go straight here. I'll tell you where it joins back when I get there on the home road straight. So the 4 milers go straight. I'm going through the woodland here. The woodland here, lovely, it's in the shade. However, it's really rooty. Big tree roots. They're always marked, so the race planner will spray paint all the roots so you can see them. But I've seen lots of people trip here, and it can be ankle rollers, ankle breakers. So you've got to really keep you normally quite tired here as well. And even when you haven't got roots, the ground is so hard, you get lots of kind of little knobbly bits where your ankle can turn. So try and keep your eye on the ground, head, keep your breathing right. Deep breaths here, because you've got a chance to cool down and to recover somewhat. But keep your eye on the muddy footway to make sure you don't turn an ankle. Turn an ankle now, end of the race. Like I say, everybody has different ambitions. I'm giving you a view if you're trying to attack this race and try and get a good time. I'm also giving you a view if you just want to get round. It's achievement, just getting round and it's a massive mass participation event. So all standards. You'll also see, probably can't see on the ground, but the shadows from the sun, they can block your view of the undulations and the roots as well. So you've got to really keep your eye on the ground. So it's really nice and chilled under here. So just coming out to the back end of it now. There's another bit of woodland towards the end. I'm now coming out of it over a little bridge. We're about to go back out into the foliage, which is beautiful. But we're now going into the famous part called the roller coaster of doom. This race, really proud to say, got an article on it in Runner's World. I'll see if I can find that. Excuse me, I've got something up my nose, so excuse me. I hate doing that on camera, but needs a must. So yeah, so I'm still through a little bit of woodland at the moment. But we're coming to the end of it now, and when we get to the end of it, you'll see the famous roller coaster of doom. And this is horrible. This is a bit that has broken me loads of times. It's the constant up and down, but probably the best part of maybe almost a K, I'd say. So it's a significant distance. So I come out here, take a right here, out in the sun again. This is also a little cobbly area with lots of potholes and kind of protruding, paved slabs and stuff. But I've tried to put some hardcore down. So again, you've got to keep your eyes aware to make sure that you're not rolling an ankle. And again, this cobbling area here, you go round the outside of this, both on the right hand side. And then Cuckoo Grove, this is the roller coaster of doom. You look ahead of you, probably doesn't look a lot, but it's up and down. So I'm going down and up, down and up. And the rule here, keep to the right. When the foliage is cut back, there's bits here that I can go right on the right hand side where I miss some up and downs. Otherwise you're going up and down. I'll run it up and down on this occasion so you can see what it's like. So down, up, down, up, say down, up. I won't keep doing it because you'll get to see it's the big down here. So you think all these downs, your muscles are trying to stop you going too quick, and on the up, they're working hard to get you back up. It's an absolute sapper on the legs, and you physically can't generally keep the pace of what you would be. You're on the right hand side, so you see how much flatter it is, but you still get it, just a reduced severity. I'm going to keep doing the severe bit so you can see. And if you're in the pack, you'll either have to stay behind people and stay right, or overtaking at your peril, doing this up and down. I can already feel my legs hurting a little bit. And bear in mind, I'm only just over halfway in the course. Well, about halfway, I'm not halfway. So you see a lot of headwind as well. Massive pothole here as well. So it's just fraught with danger, this part, in terms of maintaining time. Look at this one, big down and up. So I'm going to go right because I just don't want to hurt my calf. And those of you that are aware, I've also had a lot of calf injuries since switching to barefoot running stuff. So I'm still cracking on. But you see, if you look ahead, it still goes on for a long way. So you've got to keep the breathing. You've got to try and keep the efficiency. So I'm running on the right hand side now, and it's still swaying up and down, left and right. It's a real roller coaster of a route, but it's got so much character. And the amount of times when you run this, bramble there, so I've got to come back into the run. So it's, it will be trimmed more for race day. But the amount of times I get to the end when I'm still running at 8 minute mile pace, 5 minute K. So I'm going at an okay pace. But this would normally be a comfortable pace for me for this distance, but I'm talking and I'm trying to navigate multi-terrain. So yeah, so it's challenging. So I'm still got to wake up. I'm just about to see the end now, which is reassuring. I'm just changing hands as my camera after somebody kindly pointed out I'm doing this all the time. Make sure I switch hands to ensure that I don't put more pressure when I'm running on one foot over the other, on one side over the other. So that's great advice. Bizarrely, I'm right-handed, so it feels a lot heavier, this camera in my left hand. So yeah, it's more challenging anyway. But a little twin to the ankle there because I wasn't focusing on the camera. I'm nearly at the end now of this roller coaster of doom part. And the amount of times from about here to around the next corner, up and down still, down, up, big down here, but I'm going to go on the right hand side wherever I can. So it's a significant test. You probably see how hard I'm working down here than usual. And the amount of times I run this, and you see people have gone off too quick, underestimate they're walking here. They're walking here, and around this corner, you see lots of people walk. And what you'll find, even if you're a pretty strong runner, when you get around this corner, your legs are kind of numbish to the effort. So when you get around the corner, you think, oh great, flat road again. I'll kick on now. You've got jelly leg syndrome. So you almost have to use this part as recovery. So turn left here, shaded again, which is lovely. People walk down here so often. When you're coming down here, get your breathing back, breathe in deep, take advantage of the shade, and find your legs again. And then we'll come back by the end of this. It's about maybe half a K, 400, 500 metres long, this stretch. The road, but it's on a kind of concave road. So, if that's the right word. So it slopes down towards the edges for drainage. So try and run in the middle. Problem in the middle, the road cracks quite a lot as well. You've always got to watch your footing, even on the flat parts. Try and keep your running efficiency where it needs to be. So, I'm feeling it a little bit, I'm not going to lie. I'm still at slightly quicker than 8 minute K pace. 8 minute mile pace, sorry. 4:55 K at the moment. Which is, I'm running it quicker than I wanted to be fair. But I normally run my vlogs at like about 9 minute mile pace or 5:40 or below kind of K pace. There's this nice, comfortable pace to do my vlogs, but pushing it a little bit harder today just to show you kind of taking its toll on this track. So last 150 metres or so of this in the shaded concave farmland, farm road, sorry. And it's hard today as well because there's a strong wind. Quite often it's in your face, like it is now. Probably see from my t-shirt how hard it's pushing. It gets really uneven, this road, towards the end. So really make sure you find a path which is flat and gives your legs the recovery that they need. So it's coming to the end now. Randomly there's a Tesco van parked here. Not sure how many people live out here, but there's a few farms scattered about. So if you know the area, we're kind of into over territory now. Don't know what happened there. My camera just beeped. Hopefully it's still recording. If it stops on me, I'll come back out and record the second half on another day. Hopefully I've got enough battery to get me to the end. So I'm coming down here now. This is a road where you want to be stretching the legs out again now. You should have had enough recovery from the roller coaster doom. This is where you want to get your pace up again. It's only a short way before we turn off it. You need to know the route because sometimes you can be quite isolated. There's only 500 that run this. And the quicker wise, you don't turn down this first right away. You keep going. You go past this farm and then you turn. A lot of people, it's a left-hand turn. Here's the big farm building. A lot of people aren't aware of where this turn is. So you have to look out for it. There's a white sign that hangs on the left. Just by that white sign, you'll see it as I come past it. So I'm still pushing it. Just going up to the white sign now. So you run past the white sign, not before it, and there's a tiny little turn up. It's just here by a big tree, a public footpath. As you can see, you run past some white chalk stone again, probably here. Really easy to turn your foot. The chalk stones here you're running past. The gate's normally open. The gate here is normally open when you run it, so you wouldn't have to climb over this part here. Then you're onto the straight farmland road again. So again here, you give it a little boot if you can, because it's a nice bit of flat road. But this is where, if you haven't taken the off-road parts serious enough, and there's more to come, they've sapped your legs. So you want to try and control the plan to have power in your legs to push on this. So I'm feeling a tightening in my right calf, I might add, so I keep going a little bit more at this pace, but it continues to be tight. I'm going to slow my pace down to protect against injury. So just to pre-warn you, but this is a nice flat bit. There is a bit of shade here as well, so you can boot it and try and get a good rhythm, get good breathing, and have a bit of cover from the sun. So I'm running this about 10:40. I think the race starts at maybe 9:30. So I am running it similar time to when people will be running it. So the weather will be fairly good indication of what it's likely to be when you run this race. So heading on down. The other thing I might add, the t-shirts from this race are brilliant. As you can see, the one I'm wearing today, I do love a bit of pink, so people that know me, they say I'm a little bit that way inclined. I like my gin and tonics rather than my lagers. I like my pinks over my more masculine dark colours sometimes. But, you know, be true to yourself. It's another episode in itself. But you also get one of the race organisers, a guy called Jez Clements, a close friend of mine. He's an engineer, very talented one, and he physically manufactures the medals out of wood carvings. So it's a really cool medal you get, really handmade. I think it might be a bit of machine laser cutting involved as well, but all the design and it's all made by Jez basically. So it's really, really cool medal to have. And it's one that will certainly look good in the collection. So I'm back out into the sun again now. A little bit around here, we go around the corner, and then we take a left, and we're kind of moving towards the home straight back into Willingham. Probably about 7k in now, so still 3k to go. So still 1.6, 1.7 miles to go. So it's still a distance to be respected. I'm still running at sub 8 minute mile, 450k pace, which is really good for me. So it's a really good push for me for a while anyway, since switching over to left foot. So we come down here now. little bit further up here, and we take a left. I think it's down Furtherford, which is the road it's called. There's lots of little turn-offs, so you have to, obviously on the race, it's all signposted in this. Stewards that show you. I'm talking mainly if you're coming out to run this as a training course. You need to know the route. Because even now, I've run it several times. My sense of direction is falling. I'd probably struggle to run it backwards. That shows you how challenging it is to navigate your way around it. So you're coming into Over now. We were in Over, but we're in the kind of farmland part, farm roads. We're now actually coming into the village. We don't actually get into the village because we turn across a rural farm road up here. Nice bit of shade again here. So again, find your rhythm, breathing, get your pacing right again. I think there are cars that come past on the day, so that's another consideration. We can't get all the roads shut off, I don't think, but rare they cause you any problems. I think it's here, that turn, Furtherford, yeah. I'm turning down Furtherford, so we're on the home track down to Willingham. Now this is straight. I think you probably get about a K down here, which again, if you've got it in the legs, keep pushing hard. This is where we're trying to secure that time because we're on the home straight now. We've done about 7.6k, 2.5 to go. So it's less than 2 miles to go, or less than 1.5. So if you've got it in your legs, keep pushing. It's flat down here. It's quite high foliage to the tides, so you do get a bit of shade, but you're in and out of it. So bear that in mind. And then when you get up here, it goes open again. A little bit further up here is where the 4 miles runners will join again, and they normally tee it up, so you get a drink station just after it, and you also get the 4 milers joining. And it can be a bit disheartening because seeing a lot of the younger kids, you've got to be 15 or 16 to run 10k. Younger kids do the 4 mile, and a lot of them can do that easily. They join up here and just kind of pull away from you, even though you're on the 10k track. You try to cling on to these youngsters who've just got the legs. So don't get sucked into that, because it can hurt your time. Once you've got the legs, find a quick one and try and cling on to the front runners of this race. In the 10k, would normally be past it before the front runners of the 4 miles, sorry. But if you're running kind of anything between 42 and 45 minutes for a 10k, you should see the front runners come through. So you've got the legs, stick with them, because they'll tow you in. If you haven't, don't try to, because you can still hit the wall on this last straight. So you can see my heart rate's up at 165, so I am pushing it at 4:45 minute mile K, which is kind of probably 7:40 minute mile, something like that. I can't do the conversions in my head, but you can smell the end now. So I'll keep pushing it, try and keep my calf under control. It's twitching a little bit, but should be alright. A lot of runners down here. I think another one come past me now. Morning. Won't be doing that on race day. Be saving this valuable breath. You guys are tiring me out commentating through it. But yeah, we're still on this farmland road. It's a little bit more open here. It's beautiful. You get sheep and cows and stuff. If you are enjoying it, you've got a chance to look at it. If you're not, you'll be in the zone. You probably won't even see them. So keep pushing. At the end of this road, we get to some more farmland and then some field running, which is super sapping at the very end. So this is middle way. I think this might be, it's either here or a bit further on where the 4 milers join you. Might be a little bit further on. Yeah, I think it is. But they join on this road just to rub salt to the wound when you're hurting and seeing the young whippersnappers powering for the finish line. I, which was one of them. I did win this for my age category many moons ago. I don't win many races, so I'll cherish that one. More walkers. Morning. Lovely dog. Alsatian. Morning, Hannah. How are you? Right. It's an old school friend I used to go to school with, so you see a lot of on these local routes. See a lot of people on them, which is nice. The sheepy is one side of me, crops the other. It's really, really nice. Really fresh farmland air, which is good for the lungs, good for the mind. Still feels like a long way to go yet. Just over a K, I'd say. About a mile left to go. Just checking my camera battery. Should have enough to get me to the end, hopefully. The end bit is the brutal part. So, here we go. Straight ahead is, you'll see when I go past. This is the bit where the 4 milers join us. So we've done a significant part without the 4 milers. It's quite a distance out there. So about 100 metres from where the 4 milers join us. So I'm putting a bit of a power push in. Still running at 4-minute 40k, which is good for me. And it's coming up to where the 4 milers join us. Just here. So here. So they join us here, then scuttle into the woods. We're frantically chasing them again. Woodland. It's a narrow woodland. Low-hanging branches, roots, really throwing you off your balance down here. You've got to try and maintain your pace. Watch your footwork. Watch out for brambles. I've just got a bramble there. Again, on race day, it's cut back. Roots, cobbles, uneven ground. In the winter, it gets wet and muddy. In the summer, it's super hard, but it's slightly softer than road. Big low-hanging branch here, so you can see what it's doing. So breathing, levels of concentration, and you think when you get through here, that's the hard bit done, but it's not. And I'll show you why in just a second. My calves are tingling. Hope I don't get an injury. I'm going to try and control this into the finish. I'm feeling fresh enough to push on, but I'm going to protect my calves. I'm on the challenge of running every day for a year for my vlog, so I don't want to injure myself clearly, but I'm still feeling alright. I'm still running it. 4:55k, still in the 7-minute mile zone, mile pace, sorry, 7-minute 50, something like that. So now we're onto the side of a farm field. You've got brambles, the camber slopes down to the farm field. So really snapping, uneven with roots still. You've got a bit of shade. You're really hurting here. You can generally hear people in the field now at the finish line. So you would be, there's 2 little roots. And obviously to the left hand side is flatter, more uneven. The right hand side is more consistent, but on a tilted camber. So you can choose that. I'm coming up to the end now. A couple of gates I have to go through on the day. These are open. On days like today, they're going to be closed. So now this is a farm field now, meadow. So I'm running through. So I've slowed right down there to go through that. Pick it up here. Sapping, it's up and down across the meadow. See to the right of me, lots of cows. Might even be a bull in here, so keep your wits about you. Cow paths to navigate. You name it, you get it on the route. So I'm still going up and down. There is a pathway you can see running through the field. Stick to it because it's more even, but it's a lot of up and down. Really sapping at the end. Down, up, down, up. Fortunately, I'm through the field now. Home straight now. Another gate I have to navigate. Again, this will be open on the day. Person is running past. Morning. Oh, lots of overgrown foliage. It's all cleared on the day. Muddy path here. Little moat next to you, which is nice. Might get a few bugs on this path. I'm pushing it to the end. The people on the field now would be pretty loud. Again, don't make you keep running to the steward. Occasionally you'll see a cut through to the left. You might try and cut through too early. It's not the route. So keep running to the steward and the big gate before you turn onto the field. Because there's a couple of routes here. You think you can jump onto the field. It's not the route. It's a chip-timed route. It won't clock you if you don't go through the gate. So make sure you do. So, still running at 5-minute K. Stopping starting is taking its toll on me a little bit. It'll be easier when those gates are off. I'm in a different top. My video cut out when I was finishing the Fen Gallop, so I'm just doing this last bit for you today and hopefully stitch it to the video so it'll all come across in one. So yeah, I'm just coming through the final straight. I'm adjacent to the wreck now, and morning, and the sound would be really loud with people cheering and stuff, which would be cool. And you get to this gate now. I'll walk through here because it's a bit overgrown. It will be cut on the day, but the gate will be open obviously. And this is where I'm walking, climbing over it, but the steward will tell you where, and you come back onto the wreck, and then you can see the finish line, which is over that way by the pavilion. But you have to go the other direction and do another lap of the wreck. So this is where it'll be lined either side with people, kids running beside you and stuff. Really, really cool. And then this is where you want the sprint finish, because you're sometimes looking at your time thinking, yeah, I've made it. It's 45 minutes, whatever you're going for. And you get here and you think, I'm on the wreck now. It's probably a good minute, possibly a minute, minute or so, to go and get right round the wreck and across the finish line. That's a sprint. So it comes down here. There's a big hill here that you kind of run down, which gives you a bit of a kick to your sprint finish. And like I say, it's getting into all the family areas now. More support. Morning. And your kids will be running next to you and all sorts if you got them. And you're sprinting here, there'll be people trying to beat each other on the sprint finish. It's nice and wide, so it's rarely that there's any injury. Well, never an injury that I've seen, which is good. And it's just the heat that normally causes disruption. And then you come around this bend to the home straight, and then there'll be a big, archway you run through with your time that you had to see. And chip timing's all done there as well. So the big sprint into the finish. It's normally a really sunny, beautiful day. As soon as you get through the sprint finish, which is about here, I'd say, you then come through, you get your medal, a load of goodies at the end, fruit and drink afterwards, etc. And then as soon as you walk through, the beer tent's just there and the barbecue, everything's there as well, which makes it all the worthwhile. So I hope you found that useful. I'm through the finish line now. I'm just going to come out to the end of the wreck so you can see. Good morning. So that's my review of the Fen Gallop 10k. It's my favourite race. It's the only race I've ever won as a kid, so it's got a special place in my heart. But it's local to me. It's in the village I live in, which is Willingham, Cambridge. So hope you found that useful, and hope training goes well and this inspires you to get involved. So stuff will come out you know, the next few weeks for next year's bookings. If you can get down, I can get a few people down here to run it. It's only 500 limit, so sells out every year. Get involved because it's brilliant. So thanks a lot, guys. Hope it's useful. Speak to you later.